what line do you think a terrorist is going to go in?
Walk on the plane.
Walk on the plane. Okay. So federal gun policy is if you buy guns from federally licensed gun dealers, they have to run a background check. But there are 5,000 gun shows in this country, or in 32 states you can buy guns at these gun shows from private individuals, or in 32 states from private individuals without an ID or a background check. Terrorists know that, convicted felons know that, so they have unrestricted access to guns, and Congress allows it. Congress allows it because in the last election cycle, the NRA probably contributed of hard dollars 20 to 30 million, in real dollars, hundreds of millions at the end of the day. So it's all about money and power and the fact that they're an extreme special interest group, and the majority of Americans don't think that guns are their problem until they're one of the 30,000 that die, or the 30,000 family members that lose someone a year, and then they're either too devastated or just unable to really get involved. And the other thing is that 80%, 80 to 90% of the gunshot victims today and every day, and of the 30,000 a year, 80 to 90% are non-white, mainly poor urban people, and I don't think Congress really cares. So that's the saddest part of all.
Well, but you would think that when you talk about democracy, in this democracy, that we would have a group of people that could rise up to combat this, but apparently that is not as important as that $20 to $30 million that you were talking about that finds its way into the political mainstream.
And if the majority of gunshot victims today and every day were wealthy, white, suburban people, do you think Congress wouldn't require a background check for convicted felons?
Of course they would.
I mean, that's the sad truth of this, is it's a race issue, it's a poverty issue, and it's a power issue, much more so than whether there's a Second Amendment right or not. I think the Second Amendment is a sort of a red herring. I think we should just accept that behaviorally people think there's a right to keep and bear arms. But with those rights come responsibilities. And with those rights come the responsibility of government to do what you can reasonably to restrict access to guns by felons and terrorists. Instead, literally, federal gun policy is to provide unrestricted access to assault weapons and easily concealable handguns to felons and terrorists without detection. There is no other way to characterize federal gun policy. And the fact that Congress allows it is a travesty.
Where are these guns coming from?
Well, we don't really entirely know, because it's also part of federal gun policy to not let us know. In fact, even law enforcement isn't allowed to know where guns are coming from.
Ridiculous.
So federal gun policy is only the first sale from a federally licensed gun dealer is recorded.
Okay. And then after that, each time it changes hands, there's no record.
No record, by law. FBI has to destroy the original gun purchase record within 24 hours.
What?
And the ATF cannot share record keeping with anybody, including law enforcement, about where even crime guns come from. And last year, in addition, Congress gave absolute immunity to the gun industry. You can't sue the gun industry, even if they market guns like being able to penetrate soft body armor, or in the case of Columbine High School, one of those guns purchased at a gun show was marketed as, quote, capable of, that gun was marketed as having a finish resistant to fingerprints. Who are they marketing to?
Oh, my goodness
They
gracious.
can market directly to criminals.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, let me shift gears here for a second, because I want to talk to you about the big series of billboards that you'll see along the Mass Pike that speaks to this whole issue of gun violence. Now, that was an initiative that came from you.
Yes.
Why? What brought that about? How many of those campaigns have you had, and what is the duration of those campaigns?
The late Michael Kennedy and I started Stop Handgun Violence back in 1995. His father was Bobby Kennedy, and he and John Kennedy were good friends of mine. Incidentally, both their fathers were assassinated, and both of them are gone, which is kind of wild. But we started Stop Handgun Violence together. I own that parking garage next to Fenway Park.
Okay.
It has 300 feet of frontage on the Massachusetts Turnpike. I'm a gun owner, and in 1995, when I became aware that 15 kids under 19 died every day from gun violence, and there are no manufacturing or marketing standards, and no uniform national laws that even require background checks, I thought that was insane. So we built this billboard. It's 252 feet long, it's 20 feet tall, and we put up beautiful color photographs of kids, 15 kids killed every day, so the cost of handguns keeps going up, 15 kids killed every day. That was 1995, when 106 Americans every day died from guns. Today, that number is about 9 kids under 19 every single day, and 83 Americans every single day die from gun violence. We were going in the right direction, but the important thing is that Massachusetts, because of that billboard and then filing legislation, we now have the most comprehensive gun laws in the nation. Second only, we have the lowest firearm fatality rate, second only to Hawaii, that's surrounded by water, versus Massachusetts as an industrialized state, connected to Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont that don't even require background checks for gun sales, for private gun sales. Our firearm fatality rate is 3 per 100,000. The national average is 10.6. Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont are over 2 or 3 times our firearm fatality rate as rural states. So I set it up to create general awareness with the billboard, and then file legislation, pass legislation. 2 Republican governors signed the toughest gun laws in the country. Now we've proven that gun laws work, combined with public awareness and law enforcement initiatives. And I'm trying to replicate it across the country.
Are you having any success in doing that, or are you getting more vigorous pushback?
We've had success in California. Governor Schwarzenegger has really adopted a lot of what Massachusetts has done, including our first in the nation consumer protection standards for guns. So we are the only state in the nation until California that required manufacturing standards for guns.
Well, it kind of flies in the face of what you may hear on the news every night, though. As you say that this is going down, 1995 versus 2008, in the number of deaths that have occurred amongst these juveniles with guns. But when you look at the nightly news, you would think this is going up versus going down.